Well, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Living United with Nashua Business. In this television show, we talk about businesses and how they engage with the greater Nashua community, what they do to give back, and how they are supportive of all of us who live and work here. Today, I am very excited to have with me Ken Senus. Ken is the CEO of St. Mary's Bank, located right here in New Hampshire. Yep. And Ken, welcome to our show.
Hey, thank you. My pleasure.
I appreciate having you with me today. So let's just jump right in. St. Mary's Bank. We all know about St. Mary's Bank, but I
don't know if everyone does know about St. Mary's Bank.
Well, you're a credit union, right?
We are. We are the nation's first credit union.
That is incredible. So the nation's first credit union right here in New Hampshire.
Yep. We started right on the west side of Manchester back in 1908. So the whole mill yard, and they were in need of banking services. The immigrants were transient, and the banks would not take them. So Monsignor Heavey from St. Mary's Parish, right up on the hill, they heard about this credit union movement in Canada and in some of the other European countries. So said, let's go to Canada. And we wound up starting the movement right here in Manchester.
That is unbelievable. So you were founded in what year?
1908.
1908. So that's over 100 years old, which is pretty amazing. And, I would imagine back in the day when you first started, it was also very much a French-speaking institution.
It was. So our original name, we had two options. We could either do St. Mary's Bank, or back in the day, it was La Caisse Populaire St. Marie. So the People's Bank of St. Mary's.
I'm using St. Mary's Bank.
And I'm not French, so I have to learn how to say that one. Yeah, the People's Bank.
Interesting. That's fascinating. You brought with you a picture. I want to talk about, what is this?
So right now, on the west side where we started, where they started taking the first deposits as a credit union, it's right up Amory Street, right up on the west side, and it's now the Credit Union Museum. But that is the building where the credit union movement started. So it's right on the west side.
That's pretty amazing. So I want to talk a little bit about what is a credit union versus there are different types of financial institutions, right? There are lots of them, but they're the ones that we really want to talk about, I think, are banks, also mutual banks, and credit unions. Can you describe for our listeners, our watchers, what the difference is between these?
I'd be happy to. And a credit union, we actually are structured more like a mutual bank, right? So we're not stock owned. We are member owned. So if you're a member of the credit union, you're technically an owner of the credit union. The nice thing about that, all the decisions that we make, our board of directors, we talk about it all the time. It's like the earnings that we accumulate from the success on an annual basis get reinvested back into the credit union. Through the technology, giving back to the community, through donations, it goes back to the community. So that's the biggest difference. It's not about answering on a quarterly basis the annual shareholders, how did we do that quarter? It's more about annually, how did we do, and what are we going to reinvest back into the organization? So
I know that many credit unions, you have to be part of some sort of affiliated with something, right? So when I was growing up, I grew up in California. My dad was a teacher at the college. And so the local credit union that was called CESLOC, which was the employees and staff of San Luis Obispo County, Cal Poly, I don't know, whatever.
Absolutely.
But you had to be sort of staff affiliated, right, to be a member. How does that work nowadays? And does that still apply at St. Mary's?
Well, it applies to most credit unions. So the unique part about St. Mary's Bank, because we were the first credit union, it was before there were any really laws around the credit union structure. So because of that, that's considered a field of membership. We have an open field of membership. So we could take anyone from around the country, really, and bank them here at St. Mary's Bank, where most credit unions, they're associated with, when they get their charter, a field of membership. If you were with the phone company, then you have to be an employee, a family member of an employee of the phone company to be a credit union member. Because we're a community credit union and the first, we have no field of membership restrictions.
I know there's like a credit union for Air Force employees, Navy employees.
So it's interesting because as much consolidation there is going on in the industry right now, if you look at the numbers, there's still around 4,500 credit unions out there.
Really?
And
Not just
to know we were
branches,
number
actually,
one,
yeah.
we're charter number one,
Yeah.
which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, so most of the consolidation, I imagine, is more on the banking, traditional banking side.
It's on both.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, really?
it's so interesting. There's on the credit union side and on the banking side, there's consolidation, and I think there's around 4,300 banks and there's around 4,500 credit unions that remain. But every year, there's more and more consolidation happening.
What about businesses? Can they be members of your credit union?
Yeah, absolutely. We serve both on the consumer and on the business side.
Okay. So full service bank, essentially, as a credit union structure.
It absolutely is. And, you know, and I always say, you know, when I grew up, I was more of a bank guy too, right? I grew up that way. And then the more you learn about credit unions, now I'm saying, why would I not join a credit union, right?
Right.
The whole point of giving back, our rates are more attractive. So we have better deposit rates, better loan rates. When we make money, we invest it back into the technology. So our technology, our digital app rating, it's like 4.9. So it has a very high rating.
What does that mean?
On an app scale, 4.9 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
Just saying
So
how easy,
yeah.
convenient, how full functionality is in the app. It's there. We have what you need. From the business side, we do commercial, we do residential, we do consumer, autos. We do all the typical lending products for both businesses and consumers.
So it's probably good that people know that you are available, and even even though that perception is really kind of out there.
There is the perception. And then, you know, and I have to say the struggle is with some of the younger generation, right? If they haven't grown up with a credit union, they think, number one, as you said, I have to be affiliated. I can't join. How do I join? Or number two, they're not going to be as sophisticated because they're not the large banks and with the name on TV all the time. So it's interesting, and right, it's getting through to that generation to say you could bank with us. And what happens is a lot of times they'll go with the larger institutions. Now, one of the other pluses, we're right here in New Hampshire. We make the decisions right here. We can get you answers right here. Where some of the larger institutions, you know, they're going into another state or another country even to get some answers sometimes.
Well, one of the things I think, which is really also a generational shift, is, you know, I grew up in a generation, and certainly my parents, where going into a physical bank branch and speaking with a teller, like that is part of the way I do banking.
Right.
I feel comfortable in that environment. But I suspect that the generational shift is also like a bank is just a name on an app.
It is.
That I never do anything with.
But they want a branch relatively local.
Interesting.
Because what we're finding, and you know, there was a big shift to online banks, and they kind of fizzled out in some ways.
Yeah.
What we're finding is, especially the younger generation, they're not getting the financial education in schools. A lot of times the parents, they just didn't talk about the finances. So they didn't bring that on to the children. So there's a lot of confusion as to what do I get? What kind of account? What do I do? So interestingly, the transactions, 100%, they're happening all electronically.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the advice, I mean, we just opened a new branch in June in Concord. This new branch, when you look at it, we have one teller pod for transactional activity, but it's about the offices around the whole building. When people come in, they want to sit down, they want advice, they want to talk. What kind of account? What do I need to do? Planning for owning a house at some point. That's the kind of conversations they're having inside the branch right now.
Right. Absolutely understandable. I think that I got a lot of that education from my parents, but a lot of people, you're right, do not get that.
They don't.
And really need that. So as a bank, as part of the whole, you know, sort of ecosystem of financial institutions, there's a law we talked about a little bit earlier called the Community Reinvestment Act.
Correct.
And that, to some extent, dictates how banks are required to give back to their communities. Can you talk about how does that play out within your institution?
Yeah, so on the credit union side, that's our nature, right? That's why we were created, and that's who we are as an institution. All the credit unions in the state, when you look at them, and ironically, we all give back, and we see each other at all the same functions and events, and it's so interesting
to see.
I
see you all there too.
It is, and it's such a great thing. So the CRA regulation was really saying to the banks, you need to give so much back to the communities. We just do it. So it's just part of our nature. I think our motto in the credit union world is people helping people. That's what we do. We help out organizations and the local communities that we're in. So the credit unions in New Hampshire, I think there's around 11 of us, but the credit unions in New Hampshire have picked, like, say, one charity that we all work together to support.
Okay.
And it's Make-A-Wish New Hampshire.
That's amazing.
And we have given, this year was, we reached the $4 million mark that we've raised. And it's just in our nature. Like, we have a charitable foundation at St. Mary's Bank. Between the charitable foundation and the organization itself, we give around $500,000 a year to community organizations.
Do you have specific areas in which beyond Make-A-Wish where you like to focus, or how do you come up with those? How do you make those decisions?
Yeah, so on the charitable foundation, yes, right? We're looking at newer Americans. We're looking at, because of our heritage, we're looking at children and families and financial literacy and education. Those are some of the pillars of the charitable foundation. When it comes to the credit union itself, if you have a need and we could support that need, we'll support you. United Way. Again, that's a perfect example. We've participated with United Way for years.
Yeah, you guys have been great supporters of ours, as well as our sisters at Granite United Way for sure, and also in the Monadnock region. Yeah. So we're all very appreciative.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. We enjoy doing it. The other piece of it I have to mention, so there's the financial, what we give, but then there's the volunteerism from our employees. And it is huge. So last year, St. Mary's Bank, which people say, how big is St. Mary's Bank here in New Hampshire, right? So our employees, we have around 300 employees. They donated over 4,000 hours of their time last year.
Amazing.
And I know 750 of it, I think, was right here in Nashua.
How do they choose that? Is it employees just, they decide they want to give back and you give them some time to do that?
We do.
Or how do you do that?
We do. They can give back as much as they want on their time, of course, which that's kind of, when we're hiring someone, we look for somebody who wants to give back. It's who we are.
Right.
But yes, we do. We allow people to take, what do you say, like a VTO, volunteer time off. So if they want to volunteer, we will give them a day to go volunteer and do what they want.
I know you come to our Day of Caring events a lot.
We do. We do the Day of Caring.
Like
we did one day of caring, the senior team at the credit union, and we were out there cleaning up the food bank's farm. It was fun.
Some of our volunteer engagements are hilarious. I think my favorite of all time was we were supporting the Humane Society here in Nashua, and their job was to do a pet cemetery cleanup. They have a pet cemetery here, which feels a little bit like Goonies, right? But they went and they cleaned up, and it was pretty great. It sounds very Stephen King.
Yeah, exactly. I want to mention one other thing. I thought it's really kind of interesting, because one of the other things we realized when you look at some of, especially the younger generation, they want to give back. They care about the community. They care about the earth. They care about all that stuff. But financially, they're not in a position where they have a lot of expendable cash to be able to give. So one of the products we came up with a few years ago was, again, we're in the New Hampshire, right? So we called it the 603 checking account. And what we do is it's an account, like a checking account with a debit card. And every time they use the debit card for a purchase, we do 6.03 for the 603 cents, and we put it aside and give it to a local charity.
That's a great idea.
It's a way for them to give back, and then we have 4 pillars. Are they interested in the environment, in pets, in families, and those 4 categories they select, and then at the end of the year we will give a check to that charity.
That's fantastic, and I'm sure that they really appreciate that as customers.
They appreciate it because they don't have to do anything yet. They still are giving back.
That's great. I did want to ask you about technology. It seems like everybody I talk to these days, I want to talk a little bit about technology and, sort of what your crystal ball looks like for the future of, credit union banking, especially AI, and what you're seeing and what you maybe picture a couple of years down the road.
The AI is huge right now, right? I'm trying to. There's some AI tools out there to kind of help the members navigate through questions. It used to be where you'd create this database of questions and answers. So if somebody had a question and they searched, was it in the database? It would give them an answer. And now the AI technology could comb through your website. You could feed it with all this information about your history, and it will just give you answers. I mean, it could go through the banking system and tell you information about your accounts. It's just so sophisticated now.
So what
the abilities.
What are you expecting how that will affect you? Say, I mean, it's so hard to know because this is happening in such rapid pace and real time. But if you were just to guess 5 years down the road, that doesn't seem like forever, but in technology, that kind of is.
It is.
What do you think might happen?
It's the convenience, right? If some of the smaller organizations don't adopt some of this technology, the community needs it, right? Because the whole point is bringing banking to where and when you want to bank. Everyone's busy. So if you're working a full-time job and then you have kid responsibilities after, you might not sit down and have questions about your banking until 7:30 at night. Well, you need to be able to answer that, right? We might be able to take a call, but you want to be in a queue? You want a quick answer, right? You want to keep moving on it. So that's the type of technology we need to provide. The other side of it is, I want to say, digital financial wellness, right? It's about understanding, how do you save for a house or a new car? What do you need to do to save for retirement? These are stressful things, and sometimes sitting face to face with someone, it's a little daunting, right? It's overwhelming for some individuals. So to be able to digitize some of it, it's a huge help. It gets them to think differently. It gets them to start getting the balls moving. So then they can actually set up an appointment and come in. We recently put a pilot with a product called Penny Finance, and it's a digital financial wellness tool. You go out there, you could set goals, you can kind of understand your long-term goals as to when you want to retire or when you want to buy a house, what are things you're doing from your savings perspective, and it kind of walks you through. And at that point, when you're ready, we can put you in contact with a financial advisor or what's your next step. But we need to be able to, as community organizations, keep up with some of this technology trends. And it's not easy because we don't have buildings of programmers, right? So we have to rely on a lot of third parties, trusted advisors, working on this stuff so we can implement it. Because if we don't, we're not going to be able to keep our membership.
Yeah, I mean, I think the great irony of the technology revolution we're going through right now is that it's, in one aspect, we're using technology to become more human. Right? Because we just can't keep up with the customer service requirements that are out there if we don't use technology.
Correct.
So it's fascinating to see where that's going.
Well, even on the technology side, so we opened our branch. We have 2 branches in Nashua, one in Spruce Street and one Northwest Boulevard. And when we opened 5 years ago, it was 2000, in Northwest Boulevard, that one was, I think we were one of the first institutions in the Nashua area to come out with the interactive teller machine. So on the drive-ups, they're more of the technology, but the nice part about it, once you learn the machine, you can do a lot of stuff on your own, right? You can cash a check, but you could pick multi-denominations. How do you want it back? Like you're talking to a teller, you can put it in there and you'll get it. Coin, dollar bills if you want out of an ATM. So it has this capability, links to all your loans. But if you get stuck or you want to talk to someone like you're through a normal drive up, you hit the button and somebody will pop up on the screen and we could help you. And we'll walk you through it. We'll take it over. We'll help you get what you need. So we really one of the first institutions in New Hampshire in
What percentage of people would you say using that technology actually revert back to a real person?
Less than 5%.
Really? So the technology really works.
In the beginning, in the beginning, people were like, where's the screen that you're talking to somebody in the building? And we were out there at Coats, of course, because we open in the wintertime, right? But we're out there with Coats and we're instructing people how to use them and what it's all about. Once they realized, I can do what I need to do and I don't really need to talk to anyone, they don't. Unless they have an issue, they don't hit the button.
That's really one of those areas where I'm guessing AI will probably make that 5% more to 0%.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you can actually have a conversation with an AI avatar.
Yeah. And some of the avatars now we're seeing in the banking side, they have they talk conversational. It's not just, I'm going to talk like a robot and get you your answer. I don't know about that, but it's so interesting how you can have a conversation with the AI robot.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to ask you about crypto. What is going on in your world with cryptocurrency?
Personally, on our side, we're not really touching crypto at all.
Yeah.
We were looking early on when it was out there and all these different currencies were out there, putting something in with our digital banking. We stayed away from it right now. what's really the sad part about some of the crypto is there's some Bitcoin ATMs out there, and the majority of these ATMs are being used for frauding people. Let's buy this car somewhere.
Right.
Let's go to the ATM, and they send money, and it's gone. So we have been working with law enforcement because it's everything we've seen from some of these ATMs is bad news.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. And I try to remind myself not to always just be an old man and my default mode being like, oh no, I don't like change. But I have such a hard time. I don't struggle with AI. I have a really hard time with cryptocurrency.
And you know what? The whole Bitcoin, people have made a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's valid, and I would say I'm not going to say don't do it. It's just we're sticking with traditional banking.
Well, a couple of years ago, it was also all the rage in the nonprofit sector, getting yourself set up to accept, donations in cryptocurrency, and that almost overnight just disappeared.
Yeah.
It'll probably be back, but I'm still waiting for that person to call up and say, I've got, $1 million in Bitcoin. How can I get that to you? Then I'll have to
come on,
figure that out or something.
You didn't get our donation? Come on.
Yeah. It was the EFTs, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Or NFTs.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So what's next for St. Mary's Bank? It's been a good 100 and some odd years. What do the next 100 years look like?
We're definitely looking at growing here in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
We had a branch on the seacoast at Pease Tradeport a few years ago. And in October, we had an opportunity to open another one right in Northampton. So we're just expanding the footprint a little bit. That is kind of a strategic, let's get more into the seacoast. Let's build it from Manchester, Nashua, and over a little bit going east. The number one location that our existing members have asked for was Concord. So it's like strategic, we keep looking at where do we expand. But when we looked at Concord, we're like, that's where our members want us. And ironically, so we opened up just in June, a new location right off of Manchester Street, exit 13. And one of the first few members that walked in screamed through the lobby, "It's about time you got here." So interestingly, it's good to know we're going also where members want us.
Yeah, for sure. Are you going to be at the Business After Hours this Wednesday? At the Nashua Chamber?
Yeah? The Nashua, yes.
Yeah.
That's going to be at Northwest Boulevard branch.
It is going to be
Yes,
there.
I will be there.
Oh, very good.
Are you going?
I can't. I'm involved with the strategic planning initiative at the school district this year, and that's a meeting we have that evening.
Okay, yeah.
I was there a couple years ago when it first opened, and what a great branch and a terrific location.
It's a great location. It has great traffic, great visibility, convenience.
Yeah,
definitely.
And unlike many things on Amherst Street, it is actually easy to get to when you pass it by accident. You can still get back.
You could get back. That's one of the easy things.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when you look at the membership of that location, even though it's physically in Nashua, it covers the surrounding area. You have Amherst, you have Merrimack. It's just based on the location. It covers a bigger, wider range.
Yeah, definitely. Even
call it Greater
Milford,
Nashua.
I would imagine as well.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So I did want to also ask, what you mentioned immigrants earlier on, and this is your DNA is kind of the the early factory employees and their French culture, and of course, New Hampshire obviously has changed since then.
Correct.
But we're still a very diverse community, and you're in some of the most diverse parts of the state, especially Concord, Manchester, Nashua. How do you see yourself engaging with the immigrant community?
And we work on that as much as we can. Right?
Yeah.
We're working with a lot of organizations that help the immigrants, new Americans, whatever you want to consider them at that point. But how do we help them? Right? We're offering financial literacy. We have people trained to go in and talk to them about banking. We're trying to build the trust of the banking system in the U.S.
Right.
And
because the challenge has to be that people who aren't from here, whatever they're used to, it's different.
It's different. And that's why it's about education.
Yeah, and that's not better or worse. It's just totally different.
It's just different. So most of our time is spent just educating on this is what banking is. This is who a credit union is. We're there to, whether we get business or not, it's about educating and letting them know what it's all about.
Yeah, any unique kind of products or specific
I wouldn't say
challenges in that area?
nothing specific on the product side. I think one of the interesting things, and it goes back to our heritage, when somebody gets a loan or applies for a loan at St. Mary's Bank, there's one thing that you don't get at other institutions. If for any reason you're denied, whether it's credit or your history or whatever the case may be, that there's a denial that is sent, you have the ability to appeal that. And it
really?
goes actually up to our board of directors. And it's just something that it fosters, and we don't get a lot of appeals, but when some of the appeals that we get, the conversations that it fosters, how could we help this person? Is there another community organization that would be better fit what they're trying to accomplish? And we put them in touch with other organizations. So it's so interesting. Sometimes we'll turn it around and we'll grant that loan.
Yeah.
Other times we put them in touch with another. We give them education. We put them in touch with another organization.
So it really does work. St. Mary's, or is
it is unique to St. Mary's?
Really?
Yeah. It's something our board wanted years ago.
Yeah, probably in your bylaws or something like that at this point.
Right. It works. It does work.
Interesting. Well, we're just about out of time, Ken. I just wanted to say, first of all, on behalf of United Way and our community, we appreciate the support that we get from you and how you give back to the community.
Well, thank you very much.
I also just am fascinated with your story, because it's not every financial institution that's been around this long and gone through this. I mean, you are through the Great Depression and all the way through the technology of today. I mean, it's
absolutely. And I love when we go into, see, now you could say you met somebody famous, right? Somebody at the first credit union.
It's my first famous person.
And I love going, when I go to a credit union conference, right? And of these 4,500 credit unions, you go there and the buildings of thousands, 5,000 people. And then they come up to you and they see St. Mary's Bank, and either they get very excited saying, "Oh my gosh, I met someone from the First Credit Union," or they say, "Why are you here? You shouldn't be at the credit union conference." It's hysterical.
Yeah, because of the name.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, no, I can see you guys are definitely rock stars in that space. So, Ken, I wanted to then thank you for coming on, talking a little bit about St. Mary's Bank on behalf of United Way. Here's a gift for you.
Thank you very much.
From us. And thank you for coming on today.
My pleasure.
So you've been listening to the television show Living United with Nashua Business. I've been talking with Ken Senus from St. Mary's Bank. We will see you again in a couple of weeks. Thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate everything that you do.